Hi, I'm Mercedes with Western States Metal Roofing, and today we're starting a new series called Spotlight on Design. Our first architect on this series is going to be Heather with KHB Studios in Gilbert, Arizona. So, Heather, thank you for taking the time to do this with us.
Thank
Obviously,
you for having me.
we know you're busy and we know that you have a lot of things to do, so thank you for that. First, we'll just start with you introducing yourself and just tell us about yourself and your architectural background.
Sure. My name is Heather Brakefield, and I am the owner and founder of KHB Architecture Studios. I'm kind of one of those odd people because I've always been interested in drawing houses, and I lived in a very eclectic neighborhood and across the street from a large 3-story brick and mortar Gothic elementary school.
Wow.
And I was always fascinated by all the design that could go into one square box. And my firm kind of specializes in custom homes on one end of the spectrum and mixed use commercial development on the other.
Okay, that's awesome. That was another question I had of, do you do design in commercial projects? So, what sets KHB Architecture apart from other companies?
I would say that really what sets us apart is that I have had a lot of unique experience in my work life. I worked in Cincinnati, Ohio for a while, and then I made my way to Sacramento, and there was a lot of construction experience that I got in those years. And so I'm really able to balance creativity and the vision of our clients and with the technical requirements that is really needed to actually build a project. So I kind of have a unique balance of construction experience alongside design, which is very unique.
Yeah, that's great. Walk us through the design process.
What we tend to do here is we want to meet with our clients first, right off the bat. We give them a little bit of homework so that they can kind of give us some idea of things that they love and things that they hate. And I get to know my clients. And then from there, once we've kind of gotten everything laid out, we do a schematic design where I actually build the model in Revit. And then once that's done, then I actually have them come back and we do a walkthrough of the model.
That's awesome. With that being said, in the virtual world, have you used any of our available 3D textures that are on our website?
Yes, that has been, now that I had found that out, looking through your products recently, that is very helpful because there are certain ways that 3D textures are different than a typical texture that we can kind of map on a surface in in our program. The 3D textures actually help with, we don't have to model as much. So for example, your 3D standing seam metal roofing, when you put a typical standing seam metal roof texture on a surface, it's very flat. And so you have to depend on the color and the lines in the texture itself. But with your 3D product, it actually gives you an actual bump so that it looks like the product. And it's really, really helpful in letting people see and experience what that product's going to look like once it's applied to your house or any other commercial type mixed use project.
That's great. That's great feedback. And what design trends do you see happening right now in the industry?
I think that there's a lot of people in the mixed use arena that are really looking more for clean looking finishes. Here in Arizona, we use a lot of stucco. There's a lot of stucco all over the place. But I see a trend that people are starting to use other materials and even, metal panel siding, which I know you guys have a lot of really great examples of in your portfolio as well. One of my favorites that you offer is the board and batten metal vertical siding. And I think that that's a really good alternative to a typical wood. In this desert climate, you don't really want to use a wood product because it's going to warp and decay over time in the heat. And with a metal panel option to get the same look is really something that I think a lot of commercial and custom home owners are looking for.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Let's see. So, how do you design a building to withstand resilience and sustainability?
That's a great question. I look at a holistic approach to sustainability. I know that the U.S. Green Building Council and other forums of that nature, that they really kind of have a checklist of these are the type of things that you want to look for. And I think that it should be an automatic thing. I think that you should absolutely consider how the building sits on the site to maximize your south facing windows. You don't want as many south facing windows necessarily in the summer unless they're covered with an overhang. So I always pay attention to where the sun's coming from and how it's going to move across the site and how that movement across the site is going to help us in the summertime versus when it's cooler outside. So it's you can use overhangs, you can use smaller windows. In the desert it gets really hot, and so you want some sort of way to move air through the lower part of your building and come out the top. So sometimes in certain homes you might want to put in a whole house fan so that it can help draw and create that natural ventilation through your home, versus always just depending on an air conditioning system. So that's kind of the approach that we take at our firm.
Be good to the environment and it'll be good to you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep,
yep.
exactly. Yep.
Let's see. So I know that you had went over something on your portfolio, the project you have in Queen Creek. Are any of our project or products something that you've spec'd for that project, and which
Yes,
ones?
absolutely. Yeah. There's going to be standing seam metal roof. And so we're going to be specking the Western lock. And then we are looking at right now the Western rib vertical application, siding metal panels for some of the retail areas, because we really want to get that verticality accentuated. And to do that, the Western metal rib, I think, is going to do a really good job of that. We've also looked at some of your specialty products. The streaked rust is a beautiful finish. And so we're going to be using that on a small little overhang with the corrugated metal roofing.
Oh yeah, that sounds beautiful. Especially in the
Yeah.
desert, those colors go so well with the environment. It looks great
Yes. It's so nice to have a finish that looks that way without it, you know,
without
actually.
the mess.
Yes, exactly. Without the flaky that happens. Yeah. So I am really excited to get that to be out there when that's getting installed. And that's just the construction nerd in me talking, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also looking at whether or not we could maybe even use the board and batten in a couple of locations as well.
Great. Well, that's awesome. We love to hear it, and we would love to see it too when it's finished. So in your portfolio, I saw that you did a lot of custom homes. Can you walk us through a few of those that you just love?
Sure. We did a custom home up in the Sonoma, California area. And that was a short little house that really did not fit the needs or the style of the client. She wanted a much more elegant looking home, and felt that the ceilings were much too short. So we actually we raised the wall, removed the entire roof, and gave 2 more feet into the house. And then we did a pretty steep A-frame roof, and it turned out really, really well. And that's a beautiful location also. I mean, Sonoma, California. There's another home that I did that's actually in the Queen Creek area, the Linehan house, and that they had a vision that they wanted something that was a little bit on the Spanish flavor, but at the same time, they also wanted it to be really functional for them. That was actually the first house that my parents came to visit, and I took them out to take a look at that house, and we got to hang out with my clients, and that was really nice to see them again and see how the house had been lived in. And it was really the first time that my parents had actually seen in person something that I had worked on, and so that home is pretty special to me, just because my parents got to.
Well, that's awesome. It's nice to hear how personable you are with your clients, and that you have that within your company. So it's always a nice thing to have when looking to do something like this with an architect. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. I think
awesome.
that's the most important part of my job, is my relationship with them.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. I'll have to come visit you when I'm in your area.
I know, that'd be great.
Yep, I
Um,
just pop in on people. Maybe I'll come over and bring you some cookies.
Want to learn more? Check out these videos.